thank God for Facebook, I suppose, because it's like, I know what they're doing. I saw when they got married. I, look at whatever. But it's like, I don't talk to that person. And it's okay. So, I don't know. Some people that are younger, when they're doing improv troupes, they kind of don't accept that part.
That people will drift away from each other.
Yeah, and that it's okay.
Yeah.
And that it's okay. You can keep doing whatever. I mean, like I said, if you want to maintain one, great. That's a big deal one. You want to maintain doing one particular show. It's important to you to maintain it. Great. Even then, no matter how long it is. It's like, what was it? There was somebody's, I want to say it was even a Louis C.K. joke where he was like, if you talk to somebody and they tell you they're divorced, don't say you're sorry. Say congratulations. Because they're happy they're not in their relationship. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, well, that's what happens when there's a breakup of some kind. Some people are like, thank goodness I'm done with that. And some people are like, oh, it's so sad that I'm not still doing that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Mourn and celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different emotions that are happening all at once.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think... do you think you're living Austin for a while? Do you think you'll be working on Empty Promises for another couple of years?
I hope so.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of all up in the air. My girlfriend, Casey, is a songwriter, mm-hmm. And so she's been traveling back and forth to LA and Nashville.
Awesome.
I hope she chooses LA. Nothing against Nashville. I hear it's great. That's a person yelling here.
It's okay.
That's great.
He also doesn't like Nashville. Wait.
Yeah. Obviously. So maybe LA could be in the future. It's kind of all up in the air. And I hope to bring Empty Promises with us because Needles and I have talked about moving it there. Alejandro Garcia's in LA.
Oh.
And a few other pals are there. And so we shall see.
It's interesting. I've actually heard that there is a whole transplant Austin community in LA right now.
Yeah, are you kidding me? Yeah, there's so many people.
There's a ton. But not only that they all happen to be there, but that they hang out. And that people that didn't hang out when they were in Austin are now friends because that's who's around their area of Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Austin, a kind of place where even though you will bitch about going north or south, you totally will drive 45 minutes to do anything.
Of course.
From what I understand, LA, they don't love that as much. They kind of stay in their neighborhood. They don't really move because everywhere they go, it's worse than Austin traffic. So they're just like, yeah, you know what? This 5-block radius is my life now.
That's everything.
Which is fascinating, that whole idea. I feel like it's a big city that wants to be a small town with 1,000 small towns.
That's totally true. Do you like LA, Amy? Have you been there?
I've been there in a touristy fashion.
Okay.
And I've had weird little adventures. Because some of my girlfriends from college moved there and I went to visit. So it was kind of a weird... I'm 23 and visiting my friend who works at a t-shirt shop and she has to work today, so I think I'll stand outside the t-shirt shop. It's just random kid thing. I sat on a bench for 4 hours and just people watched on Rodeo Drive or something, and it was I ended up bumping into people who were in movies that I knew, that I had done theater with, and I was like, hey, how are you doing? And they're like, what are you doing on this street in the middle of, you don't live here? And I was like, I don't live here,
Wow.
So it was just a weird, just sort of weird touristy adventures. I've been to, what's the Universal Studios, that kind of stuff when I was a kid. But I need to get back there because my Uncle Joey, who's my godfather, who's my theatrical muse, lives there, and he's a working actor. He was my dad's youngest brother, who when I was born had just moved to New York to try it out, and he's still acting. And so I'm like, yeah, man, yeah. He's my guy. I like Los Angeles. I like the fact that there's this community because from what I hear about the Austin crowd is that it's a little dog eat dog in LA, of course, and it can be a little hard on the old soul, so having the little Austin pals, you can go in and be nice to each other and no one's gonna get mad at you for it.
Nice, calm safety net. social safety net.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I wonder if that happens with all sorts of people, because everyone moves to. I've met a handful of people that were originally from Los Angeles, and I'm like, really, what does that mean? But it was like they let children there. I didn't think.
Can you grow up there? I thought only adults allowed.
Yeah, I thought, did you just get an adult job? You're an agent, right? Yeah, well, I was 8. I was an agent.
Get in here, Robert Downey Jr.
Tell us about your life. But I don't know. I'd love to go there and see what's going on. Try to see if I can't find the, sort of hippy dippy. Not the improv there is weird, but I feel like every time I look at improv stuff, though, I'm looking at it through the lens of my Austin transplant friends. So it's like I look at Jeff Whitaker's stuff and the stuff he does at I.O. and I'm like, okay, cool. I.O. check. Good place to go. He's there. Good. I feel like UCB is like scary, because it's got famous people there all the time. And, who's going to give me stage time if like friggin' famous people are there?
Anyone will give you stage time.
Yeah, maybe. But who knows? I mean, there's a lot of, especially in the larger a school gets, the more difficult it can become to have stage time. I mean, that's something that I feel like happens everywhere. And something, especially when you first start out, that people are like, we're not going to be that way. And it's like, don't say that. Never say that out loud. You can say that in your small meetings, but never advertise that you are going to provide this thing. Because you can't. Yeah. You just can't. Like, you don't know. One of the most interesting things that I find, and I'm sorry I'm taking us off on some weird tangents and maybe unrelated, but one of the things that I find most interesting, having done theater for a long time, is that there's people who have talent, and then there's people who have interest, and then the people who actually get it done are just the ones that have the ability to do the scheduling stuff, the ability to keep the organizational. Like, you're talking about Empty Promises going to festivals, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I was better at that. Like, just the idea that somebody within your group took the time to fill out all those applications, pay the things to try to get you there, and then wrangle however many of you to go, okay guys, now we all gotta go to New York. You buy your plane ticket? Come on, did you get it yet? You gotta go. Come on. That idea, that's so much work.
It is a lot of work.
And that's who does
stressful.
It. Yeah, that's who does theater. People can be talented, people can be, funny, but the people who actually accomplish it, the people who should get the stage time, are those people who put the effort in, who go through the tough stuff.
Man, I wish I could show you my spreadsheet. Empty Promises has a spreadsheet that we kind of created. I will say I did a lot of the work because I like doing that stuff. Yeah, it's the show. Almost every show that we've done, I would say probably 90% of every show that we've done, dating back to 2014. Wow. So we're at maybe over 150, 157 or something like that. Where we played, what the date was, and roughly which members were there and which members missed.
Whoa.
So that we have a calculation of what theaters have we played at a lot, how many festivals have we played at, and just have an idea so we can look back and see this data. We're like, oh, we have played there, or we are doing work, we are getting shows.
Oh, interesting.
And so those seasons of we didn't have, Empty Promises didn't have shows from October until this month. And we've never had that before. We've usually had a show every other week or something like that. And and to feel like this project is failing in those seasons, we have some of those. For me, it feels really good to look back on this data and say oh, yeah, we got to play at Station Theater in Houston. We got to play in Phoenix in October, and DC, and in New York City on 2017.
Yeah, makes you feel better, even though there's some lulls in that thing. That's really fascinating that you keep track of that. Do you keep track now? Based on what you're saying, the metrics that you're looking at, do you ever notice regular lulls? It's okay, every December we never do shows because it just gets crazy. For me, that's my lull. That's when I know really? I will specifically wind down everything that I'm working on, knowing I'm going to screw it up in December. Because December is an insane I should be the kind of person who buys a planner that starts in July, because why am I buying it in December for January? Like, it's the middle of my life. But it doesn't matter. Every time it just goes crazy. Have you noticed that there's like 1 month or like a certain time when there's a lull?
That's a good... I haven't noticed that. I haven't looked at any of those trends yet. There are different theaters that will book us more often.
At certain times of year?
We don't have that specifics, but we know like theaters that like us and theaters that are less likely to book us.
Sure.
And so trying to like build those relationships so we get to play on their stages more.
Interesting. I wonder too, since you're very specifically a Herald troupe, if some of the schools that like really don't have a lot of Herald stuff are like, yeah, it's cool. Nah, don't worry about it. Yeah. Or like some of the short form where it's like, this doesn't really play to what we're selling.
Yeah.
So this isn't really...
totally true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just did... So the past 2 months, the neighborhood performed at the Hideout. Wow. And it was a very different audience. It was just way different. And this month was the first month that we did it at both places. So like we did last weekend we performed at Hideout, and this weekend we performed at Fallout, and it was like, whoa, the audiences were markedly different. And not like visually, like it was like you look at it and you're like, okay, we get a cross section of probably 20 to 45 guys and girls. They're all drinking beers, like, well, looks pretty regular to me. And then some group like because we did two months there, and the audience just like reacts differently. They like have a different, they receive the comedy in a different way. Even the like laughter versus clapping sort of politeness scenario. Yes. You're like, good. We started a lot of like after like lights go down clapping ourselves in the back. We were like, because it's like, hey, listen, nobody cares if you liked it or you didn't. The polite thing is when the lights go off, you clap.
Yeah, that's
like,
what you do. And
I wish that there was like, a part of me feels like I might like make a little thing that says, this is your job now.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember, did you ever see a Bad Example show, speaking of Jeff Whitaker, 20 minutes ago?
I have seen Bad Example, yeah.
At the beginning of the show, they had that PowerPoint, the little like thing that essentially spoke to the audience, and it was just the screen and some words, but everyone would intently read it and interact with this like ghost personality in the thing, and they're like, and it would make jokes at them and they'd laugh at those jokes, and I was like, how interesting. But they all would get on the same page. It would tell them certain things. It would be like, hey, this is gonna happen, try to turn off your cell phones, like, all right, now we're gonna do this now, is everybody ready? I don't think you're ready yet. Like, and it was like it's just like somebody's hitting a button on, and they're all into this thing, and I was like, oh, I see. So you got to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
You got to explain to them how to be an audience. Your job is.
Yeah, and if you're an audience member, like, what are you thinking? You're like, I'm experiencing this. Now this screen, these speakers are talking to me.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm supposed to do. Now I have an active role in this show.
Right.
This may be faux interactivity.
Yeah.
But still relatively cool.
Sometimes I wonder if that's what people are looking for. Like, people who go to improv and sketch shows that aren't performers at all, if they're looking for a little, like, interaction.
Yeah.
You know? If even just the moments, like, because, like, for instance, the show Fuck This Week, super popular. And I think it's super popular because people feel a literal catharsis when they hear people's stories and they can identify with those stories, and then we can all make fun of it as a group, right? And like, so because I remember hearing about that, and I was like, who's gonna tell their private sad stories? Like, and I was like, apparently everyone
wants to.
Yeah, apparently people are just dying to tell you what's wrong with their life.
Yes, all the time. So
funny.
All the time.
It's just such a weird kind of, I don't know, scenario to get the audience involved. What's your like relationship with the audience? Like, as far as like, how do you feel about, how you work with them? Or it's an important part of being a performer, but
Empty Promises, what we like to do, and I know Needles loves to do this, is he crawls around the space a lot and like interacts with people as if like they're part of the set. Not necessarily talking to them, but like using their space to whatever his advantage. Like if it's a baseball game, he'll be an outfielder.